It's time for the Money Puzzle Podcast, with good conversations and realistic solutions to the money puzzles we all face every day. I'm your host, financial advisor, chartered financial consultant, and president of Edgen Insurance and Financial, Robert Edgen. Now let's get this show started. Hi there, hello, and welcome to the Money Puzzle Podcast. I am Robert Edgen, and I'll be your guide for the ride for the next few minutes. This is the place where we have candid conversations about money, finance, investing, and all of the other pieces of the money puzzle that you need to figure out so you can have the financial confidence you deserve and the future that you dream of. It is mid-April 2020 while I'm filming this from my home office because we've been quarantined for a month. That also explains my new work hat, which is really just a hat I'm wearing during work because I'm now 6 weeks overdue for a haircut. I was actually scheduled to get a haircut on the Friday that we went into quarantine. So I'm 6 weeks overdue. I now have maybe a different hat I'll be wearing every day for work until I can get it cut. But anyways, I'm in my home office and we are going through a lot of financial craziness in the world right now. We've got record high unemployment claims. We've got stimulus packages that are doling out trillions of dollars. I'm not sure if anybody realizes how big $1 trillion is. And we've got a lot of people feeling unsure about what their financial future holds. Now, hopefully we'll all be back to work and getting back to some type of normal lives in the next few weeks. But for now, we're doing the best we can from our home offices and our dining room tables or wherever else we're calling our workplace these days. And as you might expect, the financial crisis is the topic of today's conversation, but probably not in the manner that you think. I've actually got a great story to share with you and some helpful tips as well. But before I do a lot of reading and research, and I come across different financial news headlines that catch my eye. So I thought we would take a minute to look at some news. All right, today's headline comes to us from UPI.com, and the headline reads, "More than $40,000 found inside couch purchased from thrift store." Sounds exciting. This story is out of Michigan, where according to the article, a man bought a couch from a thrift store and found more than $40,000 stashed inside the cushion. Howard Kirby said he bought the couch from the Habitat for Humanity Restore in Owasso, Michigan, and used it in his man cave for a few weeks before he decided to investigate why the foot cushion was unusually firm. Kirby's daughter-in-law opened up the cushion and discovered bundles of cash totaling $43,170, and Kirby's lawyer said he could keep the cash if he wanted to. But he decided to do the right thing. He contacted the store to see if they could identify the couch's original owner, who had actually died, but the money was presented to his granddaughter, Kim Foth Newberry. She said that her family had no idea that such a large amount of cash was stashed away. Faith also went on to tell the newspaper that this story almost had a very different ending because her family was going to burn the couch if they couldn't find a thrift store to accept it. And I get it. Go look at this article. The link is below, the podcast. It is an ugly couch. I understand why they were going to burn it if nobody couldn't find a place to donate it. I'm surprised that somebody bought it to begin with, but what a happy ending and a nice story. And just to show that even in tough financial times, people are still doing the right thing, the kind thing. And because of that, Faith and her family were given $43,170 put into a couch cushion by her grandfather. Go check out the rest of that story. Again, the link is below the podcast, or if you're watching this on the website or on YouTube, it's down below the video. That's it for today's news. Let's go ahead and get into today's hot topic for the day. I was thinking about our present situation the other day, and it reminded me of how things felt back from 2007 through 2009. At the time, we were going through the worst economic times that many of us had ever seen in our lifetime. The reasons were different, but it felt a lot like this. 2007 through 9 happened because there were a lot of underlying financial problems that were all coming to light at the same time. Today in 2020, the financial problems are completely based on a temporary health scare that has the whole country quarantined and shut down. But truthfully, the underlying economy so far is still very strong. It definitely was when we started sheltering at home. But back in 07 and 08, the economy was not strong. And the end result was that it felt a lot like it does today. We were unsure of how long it would last. We were uncertain about what to do. We were wondering if we would ever get back to normal and, quite frankly, what normal would even look like. Most people were scared and a lot of people were losing their jobs. Kids who were graduating from college were looking at a pile of debt with very little job prospects, which is exactly where roommates Joe and Brian found themselves in 2007. I'd like to tell you a story about two recent college graduates in 2007 who moved to California to look for their jobs and start their new careers as designers. But there were no jobs. People were losing their jobs. Instead of finding careers, they were just racking up credit card debts and bills, just trying to survive. They were broke. They were unable to pay their rent, and they were desperate. And as the saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. So what did the roommates do? They came up with an idea. In order to get enough money to cover their rent shortage, they decided to offer up their living room as a place to stay to a group of designers who were coming into town for a convention, but finding that all of the hotel rooms were booked up. So they offered up their living room, an air mattress, and breakfast for $80, and the roommates made a whopping $240. Not much, but enough to help them cover their rent shortage and get them excited about the idea of doing it again. So the next time there was a convention in town, they offered up their living room again and an air mattress and breakfast, and they had no takers, not even one. But that didn't stop them. They were still excited and they believed in their idea. So in the spring of 2008, they went to South by Southwest. They wanted to pitch their business idea and they wanted to make some money at the same time. So they rented a place to stay and then they offered it up along with an air mattress in the living room and breakfast. And they had a whopping one guest. Didn't do very well. In fact, it was a total flop. No one liked their business idea and they made no money. They were more broke. They were more in debt, but they actually had a new crazy idea that they wanted to try. So they racked up some more credit card debt because in 2008, we had something else going on. We had a major election showdown between Obama and McCain. So what did these roommates do? They had 1,000 specialty cereal boxes made. They actually went out to Denver and stood on street corners and they were selling Obama O's and Captain McCain's, otherwise known as Cheerios and Captain Crunch. However, for a numbered limited edition box of cereal supporting your favorite politician, you could buy a box on the streets of Denver outside of the Democratic National Convention for $40 a box. They sold out. They made $30,000 in profit, and they also handed out information about their business with every box of cereal. They used that $30,000 to keep their business idea of renting out air mattresses in living rooms alive. Now, if you haven't recognized the story yet, it's about Airbnb, which today is worth about $31 billion, but was actually started out of desperation as the world was heading into the economic collapse of 2008. Those cereal boxes, by the way, are pretty awesome. If you want to see pictures of them, you can do that below this podcast or on the website or below the video links in YouTube as well. A lot of businesses start out of desperation. A lot of entrepreneurs who need to make money but can't find a job make a job first in order to make money. Back to Airbnb, their story continues as they were turned down by every investor they spoke to, and they spoke to a bunch, but they kept going through all of 2008, rejection after rejection. They just kept figuring out how to persevere a little bit longer, how to keep the business afloat because they believed in their idea so much. But it wasn't until April of 2009, about 18 months after they started, that they finally had an investor take notice and give them $600,000, which seems like a lot of money, and it was enough to keep them going. But Brian Chesky, one of the Airbnb founders, described it as going from eating leftover cereal every day to being ramen profitable. They finally had enough money to eat ramen. But it kept them going through all of 2009 and 2010, all the while doing business out of that same apartment where they rented out those first 3 air mattresses. And then finally in 2011, after they had bootstrapped the company to being in 89 countries and booking over 1 million nights of stays, did they finally hit their big break and bring in $112 million in venture capital money. The rest, as they say, is history. Airbnb changed the way that people stay in places. It changed the hotel industry. And honestly, it created a whole new industry that did not exist prior to Airbnb. But it started out of desperation heading into a financial crisis. You know, the Airbnb story teaches us a good lesson about persistence. It teaches us about perseverance, but it teaches us something else about business too. It teaches us that you can be successful during difficult financial and economic times, even if you're just starting out. In fact, starting out in difficult times might give you an edge over more established businesses because you're small and you're nimble and you can make decisions quickly and you don't have a big pile of debt or a lot of employees that you've got to try to figure out how to cover those expenses for. Starting or growing a business when things are tough or slow forces you to use your creativity, to watch your cash flow better, to question your expenses, and in general, make better decisions because you have no choice. Airbnb has a great story of how they got started, but it's actually only one story of a mega business that started during down economic times. I could actually have shared hundreds more stories with you because more than half of the businesses on the Fortune 500 list were started during a recession or a bear market. That's more than 250 companies that made the Fortune 500 list that were started in times that felt like this. Hard times, slow times. Times like this. In addition to Airbnb, companies that were started in the last Great Recession between 07 and 09 include Uber, Pinterest, Venmo, Square, WhatsApp. They were all started between 07 and 09. Okay, fine, you might be thinking, those are all tech companies. That's just a couple of guys who live with their parents and were starting a business on a computer in their mom's basement. Fine, that might be. But how about companies that started in previous tough times? Companies like General Electric, General Motors. How about Disney? You've probably heard of them. They were incorporated in 1929. Guess what else started in 1929? The Great Depression. Burger King, Microsoft, they both started during tough times. Shoot, even the iPod was launched right after the dot-com bust of 2000. My point is this: economic problems and tough times don't mean there are no opportunities. I actually think the opposite is true. Slow times give you the opportunity to take a different view. It allows you to refocus your efforts and your energy to spot the gaps in the market. What are people missing? What are the new trends? What do people really want? Tough times have a way of bringing to light the things that people really care about. Today, during our shelter-at-home order, most distractions that take up our time have been removed. There's no sports, no movies, no bars are going out. Distractions have all been taken away. And there will be entrepreneurs and businesses who come out of this situation on top. There will be businesses who figure out new ways to work, new offerings to bring their clients. I think there will be whole new industries that will be created along with new ways of working and earning money. How many of the future Fortune 500 companies will be started during the quarantine of 2020? Things that we haven't even thought of yet will be developed and become commonplace because of what we're going through today, because people are desperate, because people don't have a choice. How do I know? Because desperate times call for desperate measures, and because over 250 great companies that have made the Fortune 500 list have proven it to be true. So does that mean that we should just smile and be happy that we're all stuck inside and unable to work and live as normal? No, of course not. I know that a lot of people are struggling just to keep the lights on and food on the table for their families. I know a lot of people are scared and lonely and depressed. And if that's where you find yourself, sometimes all you can do is keep your head above water and find a way to make it through one more day. And that's what you've got to do. And if you need help with that, please reach out to someone who loves you, who cares about you, who you can talk it through with. And honestly, if you don't have anybody that you can talk it through with, feel free to email me. I will get on a Zoom meeting or a phone call and I'll talk to you about it, because I want everyone to be okay. And sometimes asking for help is the bravest thing that you can do. So I'm not suggesting that we pretend like nothing is wrong and that we're all okay. But I'm hoping that we can take the approach that Brendan Bouchard actually tweeted about and suggested just a few days ago when he said, spend less time wondering if it will turn out well and more time preparing, working, and readying yourself to deliver with excellence. The outcome in that case is already a win. You gave it your all. I agree with Brendan 100%. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying we should be happy about it, but if we find ourselves in tough economic times, I'm saying we should focus on the things that we can control first. I'm saying we should work on what we can work on instead of worrying about what we can't work on. So if you're struggling, hang in there. And if you've been thinking about starting a side hustle or maybe a new full-time business, maybe the time to do it is right now, when most of life's other distractions have been moved out of the way for you. There's actually some advantages to starting a side hustle or a new venture during tough times. 5 of them that I came up with in a pretty quick manner. I know there's more, but the first 5 that I thought of, number 1, it's the advantage of a hard knocks education. The thing about easy victories is that they may satisfy you, but they do not educate you. You learn very little from victories and easy times, but you have the chance to learn a lot from defeat and difficulties. The second advantage to starting during tough times is that there is an overwhelming amount of talent available to help you. Unemployment makes others desperate too. So hiring the best people during downtimes is easier, or finding someone to partner with you and work with you is easier, because there are a lot more of the best people that are looking for work. It's a great time to build a loyal team and share a common goal of figuring things out together. Advantage number 3, it's a lot easier to get noticed. In good times, when businesses are starting everywhere and everyone is doing well and lots of folks are making money, it's easy to be overlooked. But starting a business during bad times and finding ways to get a little bit of success will get you noticed by customers, investors, the media, and anyone else who is tired of listening to all of the bad news and who wants to believe that good things are still possible. Advantage number 4, people are more open to change in bad times. When everything's great, why bother shopping around just to save a few bucks on a product? Why worry about spending a little extra when you're making extra? Who cares about finding a better solution when you're crazy busy and your current solution is doing okay? But when you're slow, when money is tight and you've got nothing but time, you shop around. You have more of a desire to save money and improve efficiency. So giving people a new choice in downtimes is received better, and it's paid more attention to because people are more open to change. And finally, advantage number 5, there are business bargains everywhere. If you need equipment for your business, buy it when other businesses are struggling and need to sell what they've got at a discount. Software companies will let you try things for free during slow times, and they'll let you try them for an extended amount of time. Competitors may have extra equipment that they no longer need, so they're fire selling it in order to make ends meet. or companies that were once competitors may be open to being acquired or partnering up at a substantial discount. When times are tough, there are bargains everywhere. All you have to do is look around. So, what are you going to do to make it through this quarantine okay? Or a more important question, a bigger question, is how are you going to prepare and ready yourself to come out of it on top? Will you look back at your time spent at home and think about all of the things that you would have and should have and could have done? Or will you be one of the new companies that started during the quarantine of 2020? Will you be one of the new best salespeople who came out on top and now leads the company in sales in your category and your industry? I hope that you are one of them, and I hope that we all get through this together just fine, which I know we will if we focus on the right things. All right, that's it for today's episode. I really do hope that you and your families and everyone you know are all doing okay, and I hope that you're staying safe and healthy and virus-free. If you have not reviewed your own financial situation or your investment portfolio in a while, or if you have not talked to your investment person since the quarantine started, now is the perfect time to talk to one of us. Let's get together for a virtual cup of coffee. We'll have a quick 20-minute review of what you've got going on, what you want your money to do for you, and how to best make that happen. Feel free to email us if you've got questions about your own money puzzle. questions@yourmoneypuzzle.com. Make sure that you give us a rating on whatever podcast app you're listening to, or give us a thumbs up on YouTube, and share us with a friend or a family member who needs to hear today's episode. That's it. Until next time, please be safe, have some fun, and go out and do something to improve your money puzzle. Your future self will thank you for it. See you next time.
Registered representative of and securities offered through Securities Management and Research, Inc., SM&R. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through BFC Planning, Inc. Edgen Insurance and Financial Services, Johnson Financial Services, SM&R, American National Family of Companies, and BFC Planning are independent entities. There are risks involved with investing which may include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risks and possible consequences involved prior to making an investment decision. Our firm does not provide legal or tax advice. Be sure to consult with your own legal and tax advisors before taking any action that may have tax implications.